Welcome. This one's calling to me. This is Danielle Kirsty's newest video, I believe. And it's talking about a high school mean girl and like a wannabe TikToker who commits double murder and thinks she can get away with it. And I'm noticing a parallel in the offenses lately that have been exposed in some cases where you've had people trying to chase clout. You've also had people just being very petulant and mean, committing crimes, thinking they get away with it. They don't, obviously, in the long run.
Back. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all had a good Christmas and New Year. Thank you all so much for being patient with me while I had some time off in January, but it's good to be back. And the case that we are talking about today is going to make your blood boil.
Sorry.
She was a wannabe influencer and she definitely had a God complex.
I just wanted all this good shit. It's really cute. I'm obsessed. It's cute. I like it. This is the first top I got. It's so funky, but like it's see-through. Like you stretch it enough. Like, okay, here's the second one. I cannot move my hand, but it is very see-through. Here's the third thing. Like, I also opened the other package, but like, holy fuck.
She was a typical mean girl. When she was in high school, she actually had hundreds of girls following her around, doing everything that she wanted. And Mackenzie was in a very toxic relationship with a boy that she met in high school named Dominic Russo. It was constantly on and off, lots of arguing. It was just not a good relationship. They should not have even been together. And then one day at a party, Mackenzie and Dominic were in a car with a fellow teenager called Davion Flanagan when they were involved in an absolutely horrific car accident. Like it was from a movie. It was that devastating. It was the stuff of nightmares. It was one of the most horrific accidents you could ever see. But there was one question surrounding this accident, and that was it even an accident? Or could it be something much more sinister? Well, that is what we are going to be talking about today, so let's jump in. And I just want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, and that is Wild. And if you have never heard me talk about Wild before, they are a company that I absolutely adore. They are the UK's #1 refillable aluminium-free deodorant company. Their products reduce plastic with each a conventional concern.
I can't. Do some research into that. A lot of those products are not actually as good as they claim to be, and influencers will take sponsorships just to promote them even if they're not good, like some of those shampoo commercials and things like that. The companies have been found to have caused like damage and hair loss and things like that, and some of the clients, but people were promoting it just because it was free and they were paid to do it. So I don't know about that. We'll see.
Switching to a natural deodorant. Millie. Oh, I did clear and I cleared people's heart in my display you can't read it. On the 3rd of August 2004, making her a Leo. And I'm like, what? Born in 2004? Baby. She's a baby. And she grew up in
like, it sounds good. All those claims sounds good, but Native claimed a lot of the same things and actually were just hit with lawsuits for making false claims and not actually having as natural products as they claim to, like problematically so. I mean,
Strongsville, Ohio, where she lived with her parents, Natalie and Steve. And we don't know too much about Mackenzie's early childhood. The only thing that we really know is that Mackenzie's parents were the kind of parents that gave their daughter everything, and not in a good way, you know, like they gave her whatever they wanted. She was definitely spoiled. There was just no rules, no regulations, there was no structure. She was allowed to do whatever she wanted whenever she wanted, and that's not good for a child growing up. They never learn that there are consequences to their actions. And that is definitely obvious in today's case. So then we skip forward to Mackenzie when she is attending high school. And like I said in the intro, she is a stereotypical mean girl. And it was in high school where her mean girl persona really started to flourish. She would walk around like she literally owned the place. Character syndrome. She was just somebody that was desperate for attention. And it didn't really matter what kind of attention she got. It's just as long as everyone's eyes were on her, she was happy. She was loud. She was very dominating in social situations. She was always talking over people. She was always putting other people down. She also liked to dress in very elaborate clothing. Clothing that would not really be acceptable for a high school student, especially like her age, because one of her former classmates has said that she, quote, dressed like she was going to apply for a job in a strip club. She would wear tiny little crop tops, tiny shorts. She would wear fur boots going up to her knees. So her clothes that she was wearing, not really appropriate for...
Was she even of age in these pictures? Can they show that? That doesn't feel comfortable to look at. She's so young.
Her age or for high school. She was also wearing a lot of designer clothes. She had a big designer bag collection, and she developed this reputation in high school that she was popular, that she was someone that you should aspire to be like. So hundreds, I've read hundreds anyway. I can't quite imagine this in my head, but I have read that hundreds of girls would flock towards her, and she would be walking down the corridors and there would just be girls behind her, following her every move, copying her. She would literally have minions doing her bidding. She has literally been described by one of her classmates as the Regina George of their high school. And that's exactly what I'm picturing. Because Regina George, stereotypical mean girl, but also popular, would have loads of girls following her around, doing everything that she wanted. That is what I'm picturing Mackenzie as. So yeah, Regina George. And if you have never watched Mean Girls, what are you doing with your life? Stop this video right now and go and watch Mean Girls. It's also said that every bathroom she went into in high school, there would be 10 girls following behind her. And I'm just like, what the actual hell? Like, do these things actually happen? I mean, I came across mean popular girls when I was in school, but it wasn't to this level. Together. And it said that she had two main cronies that would protect her at all costs and make sure that she remained Queen Bee. And there are just plenty of stories online of Mackenzie being a bully as well, bullying other girls, which I'm not surprised. Apparently she would bully other girls for their appearance, for the clothes that they wore. She would also bully people that she thought were poor. Like she thinks that...
Here's one. I absolutely poked at the insecurities of the vain, very fake, shallow person who's been effectively, she doesn't like this truth ever coming out, stealing my identity. In fact, she stole my name, in part. Protected. That's funny as I look down. Very mad. I wish you'd shut up. Or no. This type of mobbing behavior. It's very high school, like I said. Petulant. It reminds me of the same behavioral patterns we've seen lately. Let her talk for a second.
And it said that she had two main cronies that would protect her at all cost and make sure that she remained Queen Bee. And there are just plenty of stories online of Mackenzie being a bully as well, bullying other girls, which I'm not surprised. Apparently she would bully other girls for their appearance, for the clothes that they wore. She
came from my daughter, my minor child, tried to make money off of the grief that we've both experienced. She came from my finances, my health, my well-being, my career. She legitimately tried to swap destinies. Someone so vain and fake and shallow that they feel the need to steal someone's identity. Yeah, I know exactly. You want to be me so bad. I know right where to hit you where it hurts. In your reflection. Since you wanted to come for my family and my well-being. But there's a difference. In every other case, I don't care what you look like. As long as you're a good person inside. But I'm not afraid to tell the person who's evil and ugly and manipulative and deceptive that they're also a mean, fake, fat bitch on the outside, and that their ugly insides are very apparent on the outside to me too.
People that she thought were poor. Like, she thinks that money makes her better. She would say that people's families were broke, and she would record other students in her high school making fun of them, probably posting that footage online, further ridiculing them. And she literally is just the worst of the worst. She is the kind of person that everybody would dread to be in their high school. So there is one thing that you need to know about Mackenzie, and this passion and this dream developed when she was in high school, and that is that she wanted to become an influencer, which again, I'm not surprised. She loves attention, she loves everyone's eyes on her, and she wants to do that on a bigger platform.
I just ordered all this skin shit. It's really cute. Says it's cute. I like it. This is the first top I got. It's so comfy, but like it's see-through. Like you stretch it enough. Like, okay,
Damn.
Here's the second one. I cannot move my hand, but it is very see-through. Like, you can see everything, but it's really cute. I like it. Here's the third thing. Like, I also opened the other package, but like, holy fuck.
It's probably from Temu. Wish. Talk to Your Angels just came out. There's a commercial for Eve.
No, like,
Video
no.
game or something.
I cannot. They sent me the wrong size in the shorts, so
she was desperate to become an influencer. She did create a TikTok account, and she would post a ton of videos of herself, almost pretending to be an influencer. She was posting content as if she already was an influencer. Does that make sense? And it's like, no offense, but nobody cares. Like, quite frankly, no one cares. And she was never an influencer, even though she was desperate to become one. But like I said, she was pretending that she was an influencer.
Like
kind of had the attitude of fake it till you make it. So some of the videos that she would post were like her designer bag collection and just showing off all of her designer clothes. There was also videos of her just flaunting cash. Like, she would just have a ton of cash in her hand. And it's like, who has that much cash? Like, readily available, like in their hand? But there may actually be an answer to that, which we'll get to in a minute. And I don't know her financial situation, but she was putting out there to the world that she was super rich. She would also post a ton of content of her in swimwear and just various different outfits. She was also desperate to become a model. She also did have an Instagram account, and again, the content that she posted on Instagram was very similar, trying to become an influencer, posting like an influencer. And it even got to a point where some brands were actually sending her clothes for free to post as a review. Although I'm not actually sure if that's true or not, because I wouldn't be surprised if Mackenzie was just pretending to get PR and have brands send her things to make her seem more important and like, oh, look at me, I'm getting all of this free stuff. So I don't actually know if that's true, but just apparently people were sending her stuff to review. So we now skip forward to 2022. Mackenzie is now 17 years old. She is coming to the end of her high school years. And this is when we need to introduce somebody that is very significant to today's case. And that is Mackenzie's boyfriend, Dominic Russo. Now, Dominic was currently 20 years old. Mackenzie and Dominic had met in high school about 2 years prior, and they had been dating for that whole time. So they were at the same high school, but Dominic has since graduated. And Dominic has been described as someone that was about 2 years prior.
Somebody wants to know what I'm talking about. Hold on.
20 years old.
Just long ass eyelashes. She looks like she's about to fly away like a jet plane. Eyelashes. Bird lashes. Giant wings on her face. Good God. How do you open your eyes?
Mackenzie and Dominic had met in high school about 2 years prior, and they had been dating for that whole time. So they were at the same high school, but Dominic has since graduated. And Dominic has been described as someone that was just liked by everyone. He had a smile on his face. He absolutely loved fashion. He loved singing, and he was very ambitious. He was determined to make something of himself. So after leaving high school, he started multiple businesses. He actually launched his own clothing line. He also opened up a recording studio. He wrote and produced his own music, and he also invested in several stocks and shares. And across all of these different businesses, he managed to save up enough money to buy his own home, which was next door to his parents' house. And he did all of this by 20, which is insane. He is so successful to be able to earn that much money, to be able to buy your own home at 20 years old. Things were going very well for him. So obviously he is in a relationship with Mackenzie. Now, in the beginning, it was all sunshines and...
Okay, quick reading. For the collective, especially as far as work and business goes, even if you were like trying to get something up off of the ground or had to go back to the basics to build, moving in the right direction. And there's something about an interview or some kind of opportunity or offer coming in relation to this work, or an opportunity for something in relation to this. I heard a business deal. Time spent worrying is time spent, so spend it wisely. And then patience, it is safe to wait, don't worry about it. And then also honor your sensitivity. Right, so, rest when you need to, get the things done that you need to when you need to, but don't be afraid to flow with it. Keep going. Put in the work. Honor the journey. Rest when you need to.
Rainbows. People thought that they were high school sweethearts, that they would be together forever. They just seemed like the perfect couple. They were inseparable. It is said that Mackenzie was glued to Dominic's hip. Dominic's family also welcomed her in. They treated Mackenzie like she was one of their own. They spent so much time together, and Mackenzie basically moved in with Dominic.
The fair weather friend and the chicken nugget. So they either have unhealthy diets, they're not very stable or trustworthy people, and they either have very unhealthy lifestyles, or they're being called chicken nuggets, kind of like fake and full of fat. Chemicals. The star. Jealous of the star. So they throw shade. They come in and they throw shade. The last hurrah. It was their last ditched effort. The cheese fries. The moon in reverse. To, I guess, flip the script and conceal what they were doing. No.
And she was only 17 years old. So it really does seem like they have
the
this
mother in
perfect
reverse. Somebody's petulant,
relationship.
trying to
But
claim to be
will
something they're
things
not.
stay
No.
like that? No.
You guys are professionals.
No, we are. We're right, professionals. Right. As far as career and business goes, especially too. Hello. Because that's what that reading was about. That's what all of these cards are, like, different career or business or life purpose themed. So that plays into, I guess. It makes sense. They've been trying to step on people's toes and steal things that weren't theirs. For starters. Next. Peace and blessings to everyone else.
Say that Mackenzie was abusing her son, and Dominic's parents were very concerned about the relationship. I mean, they suspected that Mackenzie was abusing their son. Of course they are going to be very concerned. But also Mackenzie was very demanding. She demanded that Dominic basically do everything for her. He was responsible for driving her to and from school every day. He was responsible for cooking all of her meals, and apparently she had quite a particular diet. He was also responsible for entertaining her, doing everything with her, taking her on vacation. Dominic also had to spend, and I want to stress that, had to spend a lot of money on Mackenzie. Because obviously we know Dominic, he is so successful at such a young age. He probably does have a decent amount of money, especially more money than maybe the average 20-year-old. And apparently he had to spend pretty much everything on Mackenzie. And that is how, apparently, Mackenzie had all of this designer clothes and designer bags. Apparently it all came from Dominic. It's also thought that this is the only reason why Mackenzie is with Dominic, for his money. She apparently is with him because Dominic's family were more well off than her own family, and she wanted to be close to their wealth. And as time went by, their arguments became more and more volatile. Every time they would argue or fight, Mackenzie would really belittle Dominic. She would call him every single name under the sun. And a video has also surfaced of Mackenzie and Dominic having an argument. Dominic actually filmed this argument on his own phone, and Mackenzie is outside of his house demanding to be let inside.
I can't let you in my house with how you're acting. Like, it's as simple as that.
You two got over it. Like, you think I'm joking. You think I'm joking.
The fuck, dude?
What do you mean?
Crazy.
You know exactly what I mean. It doesn't. You don't even know exactly what I mean. You're gonna come open this door right now, or there's gonna be a serious problem. I'm gonna count to 10.
She's
The
keeps
door's
repeating
gonna
herself.
open, okay? You're gonna open the door. Stop hiding behind the door like a little bitch.
What the fuck?
Okay, I'm gonna bring something, man.
You can hear her saying things like, stop being a little bitch, stop hiding behind this door like a little bitch. I'm going to count to 10. If you don't open this door immediately, we're going to have a serious effing problem. I'm not joking. And it's like, who the hell does she think she is? Around this time as well, Dominic's family just noticed that he was becoming incredibly miserable. Mackenzie was so possessive, so controlling. She always wanted to know where he was at every minute of the day, who he had been with. He also had to reply to her text messages immediately, and it was really taking a toll on Dominic. He was somebody that people have described as so happy, would always have a smile on his face. Well, that was disappearing. And according to several of Mackenzie's so-called friends, Mackenzie could be extremely scary when she didn't get her own way, which is why Dominic and why a lot of other people always did what she wanted. Mackenzie's drug use also increased around this time. She would post videos, a lot of videos of her literally doing drugs. She was always smoking marijuana. She apparently also did mushrooms. She was just always high. And I've also seen rumors online that around this time, Mackenzie was also possibly a sex worker. And I just want to clarify that these are just rumors. I have not seen any hard evidence that this is true, but there are some alleged Snapchat messages which showed Mackenzie speaking to people online and offering to send them explicit photos of herself for $1,000. But apparently there's also messages where Mackenzie is talking to people and she offers to meet up with them, and she will apparently do anything with them for $2,500. So
this shopping season, save over $390. Book a last.
She need that for. Crazy girl.
if she was a sex worker, but this
that's
also
gross.
could possibly explain why she does have so much cash. Is she getting cash in hand? Like, you know, I
Yeah,
just...
that's gross. Look at that. That looks like something to me. Those eyelashes, look, it's just gonna fly away, dude. I don't know, something's off.
She does have so much cash. Is she getting cash in hand? Like, you know, I just don't know. I don't know how legitimate these messages are. I haven't seen anything confirming that she was a sex worker from an official source. So I don't know if that's true, but it's just something to bear in mind. And things
Although-
between Dominic...
People were making fake accounts of me. They started on like a Christian chat network dating website or something. And got weirder from there. Psychos.
and Mackenzie just keep getting worse and worse. They really should not be together. And I can imagine, obviously I don't know this is just me assuming here, I can imagine that Dominic probably doesn't want to be with Mackenzie, but he probably feels trapped. I mean, she's abusing him, she's controlling him, and Mackenzie is with Dominic because she's obviously using him for money. But by the time we get to July of 2022, this is when things really do come to a head, because Mackenzie and Dominic, they were in a car, they were out driving. Mackenzie was the one behind the wheel, and this is when they got into yet another massive argument, and things got very, very heated. The whole argument, Mackenzie was still driving, and at some point during the argument, Mackenzie just started shouting at Dominic that she was going to crash the car.
What?
Bear this in mind. Mackenzie was threatening to crash the car because she wasn't getting her own way. Essentially threatening to injure Dominic if he didn't do what she wanted. And Dominic called up his mom, absolutely terrified. He told his mom that they were on the interstate, that Mackenzie was driving recklessly, that he was scared, and he needed to get out of this situation. Dominic then called another family friend, a man named Christopher Martin, who agreed to come and meet Dominic to come and get him out of the situation. So obviously this was a very scary incident for everyone involved. Everyone except Mackenzie. But thankfully, the family friend Christopher, he managed to get to Dominic, get him out of that situation, and for now, Dominic was safe. However, when Mackenzie stopped the car and Dominic got out, Mackenzie was seen physically assaulting Dominic, which is just not on. Like, she is abusing him. I feel so sorry for him that he is trapped in this situation. Thankfully, though, Dominic managed to get out of that car and he wasn't seriously hurt. But Mackenzie is just so evil. She's just evil. And she's only 17. That is something that I always forget, how young she is. But this is not the only example of Mackenzie driving recklessly. Oh, no. She has a habit of driving recklessly. There are multiple TikTok videos of Mackenzie driving recklessly. I quickly realized after watching quite a few of her videos that one of Mackenzie's favorite things to do is to film herself whilst she is driving. And she's not just like set the phone up and then she's driving responsibly and it's just recording her driving. Oh, no. She is concentrating on her mobile phone. She's concentrating on the camera, doing all sorts, posing with sunglasses, and she's just doing a lot, singing, dancing, whilst she is driving.
That's so goddamn close to me. What the fuck? Letting this bitch off the bus, like, this shit, like, 2 seconds away from me. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with this bus? Like, are they fucking okay?
And I'm just like, no, what the actual hell? She is not paying attention.
No, first of all, you're not supposed to tailgate a bus. Also, you're supposed to leave them a couple of bus lengths back so that they can stop. She was not being a safe driver. The bus driver was just doing their job. Legally speaking, they have the right of way.
To anything around her apart from herself. And this behavior, her driving recklessly, goes back as far as 2020. So 2 years prior to her threatening to crash the car with Dominic in. And it's like, why can you not just pull over and record your little TikTok video then? Or maybe just film a TikTok not in a car? Why do you have to do it driving? There were times when her dad joked about how many speeding tickets she had gotten. And it's like, great parenting there. Yeah. There are also messages from her dad where her dad is actually begging her not to drive. And he actually says that he will drive her everywhere. He is just begging her not to drive because they know how recklessly she drives. But Mackenzie just ignored this. She pretty much ignored every single thing that her parents ever did or said. They had no control over her whatsoever. And things keep spiraling like this. And it's like, what did anyone expect? She literally has no discipline at home. She has never had to learn what the consequences are to her actions. So it's like when everything is handed to her, when she never gets into trouble, and when everything is just brushed under the rug and no one addresses anything, of course it's going to get worse. So in July of 2022, it really did seem like Mackenzie and Dominic's relationship was coming to an end. And we don't quite know how Mackenzie reacted to this. Was she annoyed? Who knows? Possibly. I mean, obviously Dominic spends a lot of money on her, does everything for her. So I can imagine she probably wasn't too happy. However, we do know that things are about to take a devastating turn. So it is the 30th of July, 2022. On this day, Mackenzie and Dominic, they were clearly still together, but they were looking for something to do. Around this time, there were a lot of graduation parties happening. So the two of them decided to go to, quite a few graduation parties. They agreed that Mackenzie was going to essentially be the driver and drive them to all of these different graduation parties, and they were just going to have some fun. And accompanying them on this evening would be a friend of theirs, a fellow teenager by the name of Davion Flanagan. Now, Davion was 19 years old. He attended the same high school as Mackenzie and Dominic. He seemed to be more of Dominic's friend, like he was really close with Dominic. They would make music together and they hung out all of the time. And Davion had a difficult start to life. His biological parents abused drugs and he ended up in the foster system. And he was in the foster system with his two younger sisters, and they just bounced around various different foster homes until they were eventually adopted, all of them together, by a loving couple called Scott and Jamie Flanagan. And this was when Davion was 8 years old. So in his very short life, only 8 years, he's already been through so much. But he was now in a loving family. They were incredibly close. And he was just described as such a kind-hearted young man. He had an infectious smile and he was fiercely committed to his family. He was also a very gifted athlete. He competed in track, baseball, basketball, and swimming, as well as being the starting running back for the high school football team. On top of this, he also had a talent and passion for cutting hair. He was known for cutting his friends' hair all the time, giving people new hairstyles. He enjoyed cutting and styling his own hair. After graduating high school, he had plans to attend barber school. He was working full-time to save money and was in the process of applying to college in Cleveland. And his biggest dream was to open his own barbershop one day and just live a happy, fulfilling, and independent life. So we get back to the 30th of July, 2022. Mackenzie, Dominic, and Davion, they all get into Mackenzie's car. Mackenzie is the one driving, and they start attending these graduation parties. They arrive at their first party at 10:15 p.m. This is being hosted by one of their friends called Kelly. They spend less than an hour at this party before they leave and they go and drive to a different party. The next party that they attend is hosted by someone called Paul. They arrive there around 11 p.m. Once they are at this party, they listen to music, they smoke marijuana. Mackenzie falls asleep on the couch at around 1 a.m. They then spend a few more hours at this party. They're at this party until about 5:15 a.m. So we are in the early hours of July 31st now. And this is when Mackenzie, Dominic, and Davion decide to leave. All three of them climb into Mackenzie's car, a 2018 black Toyota, and this is when things take a very...
If you sleep on a satin pillowcase, you deserve to know about this.
At 5:34 a.m., a CCTV camera captured Mackenzie's car turning right at an intersection. And at this point, Mackenzie was totally in control of the car. Her turn signal was on. She was applying the brakes before the junction. It was a very slow and deliberate turn. Like, there is nothing that would indicate that she's not in control of this vehicle. But then just 1 minute later, another camera captures the car speeding away. It is going incredibly fast. Mackenzie was now driving her car at over 100 miles an hour. And when the car goes past this camera, it's literally just a blur. You can visibly see just on this footage how fast this car is going, until tragically and very suddenly the car goes straight into a building ahead of them. And as you can imagine, with a car driving that fast, the impact resulted in the most horrific car accident you could imagine. And immediately after this crash, nobody noticed what happened. This was in the middle of an industrial area. It was the early hours of a Sunday morning, so literally no one was around. Until eventually a passerby did notice the incident, called 911, and emergency services finally got out to the accident 45 minutes after the car crashed. And when they arrived, they find Mackenzie, Dominic, and Davion all unconscious. Mackenzie actually still had her foot pressing down on the accelerator. Dominic was sitting in the passenger seat and Davion was sitting in the back. And one of the responding officers, they were wearing a body camera, and you can see some of this footage, and there is literally just pieces of the car scattered everywhere. When you actually see the car, it's basically unrecognizable as a car. It's just a bunch of twisted metal. And when officers look inside the vehicle, you can hear the distress in their voice because they are fearing the worst. One of the officers is saying, "Who can hear my voice? Oh God, not good, not good." So when they are at the crash site, they realize that most of the impact occurred on the passenger side. So the passenger side had taken the most impact. And when they checked Dominic for vital signs, this is when they sadly realized that he had not made it. And during the crash, 20-year-old Dominic Russo had lost his life. So then they check on Davion, and this is when they came to the exact same devastating realization that 19-year-old Davion Flanagan had also lost his life during this crash, which just absolutely breaks my heart that two young men that had so much of their lives ahead of them, they were such good people, have tragically lost their lives in this car crash. So now they go and check on Mackenzie, who is in the driver's seat. And again, they are fearing the worst. They don't think anyone could have survived this car crash. They can see that her head is wedged underneath the dashboard. And then you can hear one of the officers saying, "She's breathing. She's breathing." And unbelievably, after checking Mackenzie, she was still alive. Even though this was one of the worst car crashes these officers had ever seen, they would not expected anyone to have been able to survive this. But Mackenzie was still alive.
It's what you invest your...
Estamos viendo.
Is removed from the vehicle, and she is airlifted to a hospital in Cleveland, and she is in a critical condition. She has suffered a lot of injuries, which is not surprising considering how bad this car crash is. She had a broken femur, a broken humerus bone, several fractured ribs, some internal organ damage, and she underwent several surgeries. And unbelievably, after being treated at the hospital, she eventually woke up, and Mackenzie went on to make a full recovery. So once Mackenzie woke up, the one question that everyone had for her was, of course, what caused the car crash? At this time as well, Mackenzie was told that her boyfriend Dominic and her friend Davion had passed away, and she was apparently inconsolable. So when she was asked about the car crash and any details what led up to the crash, Mackenzie said that she blacked out and that she doesn't remember anything. So whilst everyone was trying to come to terms with what had happened and their loss and just mourning the two young men that had lost their lives, the investigators started to put together some theories on what they thought could have happened. Their first assumption was that it was a bunch of teenagers in a car. They were acting recklessly, driving recklessly. It was a Saturday night going into the early hours of a Sunday, and they thought that the teenagers, especially Mackenzie, could have been drinking. That's what a lot of people assumed, that Mackenzie was drunk and she lost control of the car. So Mackenzie's blood was taken for testing, and there was no alcohol in her system. The only thing that they found in her blood was THC, which was consistent with smoking marijuana. Police also found mushrooms and a digital scale in Mackenzie's car. So again, police just made the assumption that she was high, and this is what caused the car crash. But then obviously the investigation continued. Police started to review all of the CCTV footage that they could find that captured the car, and they started to analyze everything about the journey the car took, everything about how the car was being driven. And this is when police started to think that something much more sinister had actually occurred, because the police were looking at the car and how it was being driven right before the crash. So when the car was driving at over 100 miles an hour, and not once did Mackenzie apply pressure to the brakes. Not once did Mackenzie try and stop that car. And from CCTV footage, the police could see that the car was being driven perfectly fine just 50 seconds before. They have video footage of Mackenzie driving up to a junction very carefully, putting on her turn signal, applying the brakes to the car. And the next minute, she is driving over 100 miles an hour and she is doing absolutely nothing to stop the crash. So this is when the officers start to think, something doesn't feel right here. So they started to do a little bit more digging. They called in a forensic mechanic to analyze the car because maybe there was something wrong with the car. I mean, obviously, anything can happen to a car at any moment. So a thorough investigation was conducted on Mackenzie's car, and they discovered that the brakes were 100% working correctly. But not just that, the acceleration system was also working completely fine. The suspension was working completely fine. There had not been any tampering to the car prior to the crash. Basically, there was nothing wrong with the car. There was no explanation as to why the car possibly lost control and the driver had nothing to do with it. So this is when police started to think, maybe Mackenzie intended on crashing the car. But obviously, Mackenzie herself has said that she blacked out. She says that she can't remember a single thing. And obviously, that could be plausible. So could that be the explanation? I mean, these freak things do happen. And obviously, this is for the investigators to find out, was Mackenzie telling the truth? And things would now unravel completely for Mackenzie.
Hello, this Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
For some time, and she was starting to make a full recovery. This is when her behavior became very, very inappropriate. Because while she was in hospital, the one thing that Mackenzie seemed to care about more than anything was getting attention. And she was getting a lot of it. I mean, of course she was. She was the only survivor from probably one of the worst car accidents in the area. And she was absolutely loving it. As well, after the crash, a lot of news outlets were reaching out to her to get her side of the story, to cover her story as well, because she's this survivor. So Mackenzie was also being featured here, there, and everywhere. And because of this, people started to find out who Mackenzie was. So her social media also started to explode. Apparently, she was trending on Instagram and TikTok. I didn't even know you could trend on Instagram, but apparently she was. Mackenzie then took to social media herself to capitalize on this, to try and grow her platform, because we all know that she wants to become an influencer. So she posted multiple videos of herself in hospital recovering. She even gave a room tour of the hospital room that she was in, and she's just smiling and joking. And I'm just like, your boyfriend and friend have just died in a car crash where you were driving the car. No, this is not a laughing, smiling matter. A modeling agency also started commenting on her pictures on Instagram, saying that they wanted to collab with her. And Mackenzie responded, "Oh, I can't wait either. Thank you so much for this opportunity." Really? Wow. Wow, I have no words. It's like time and a place. Even if a modeling agency did reach out to you, it's like, no. Your boyfriend and friend have just died from a tragic accident where you were driving the car. You're supposed to be inconsolable. Stop making deals on the side. Mackenzie also posted TikTok videos where she was attending concerts, sat in a wheelchair. She was just posting a load of jokey TikTok videos, and it's just really insensitive given that two families have lost a loved one. And in one disgusting post on TikTok, she posted a video with the caption, "I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of drugs and not die."
I'm not even cool. I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of drugs and not die.
And I'm like, wow. Because obviously it's suspected that she was on drugs, or at least high in some kind of way, and that is what caused the crash. And it's like, How can you post a video and say, I'm just one of those girls that can take a lot of drugs and not die after that car crash? So a bit more time passes and she eventually gets out of hospital. It's actually 3 months now after the car crash and it's Halloween. And of course, Mackenzie is out partying because, you know, she can't resist a good party. And it's like, it's just really insensitive, isn't it? Like, she's just out there living her life, living it up, trying to capitalize off of this car crash when 2 people have died. And there are loads of pictures all over the internet of her just partying. And people have said that the Halloween party that she attended, her costume was just really insensitive because her makeup made her look like a corpse. And obviously that is really insensitive, like I said a million times, seeing as she caused a car crash where 2 people died. And this behavior in particular started to make Davion's sister very suspicious. The sister believed that there was just more going on, that just things didn't quite add up, and she urged her family to call the police to report Mackenzie. However, what they didn't realise is that the police were already suspicious about Mackenzie. They were still investigating the car crash. And this is when everything is about to come crashing down around her. So the police were still gathering evidence and they found more evidence that pointed towards this car crash being intentional. So the first thing that the police learned about was the relationship between Mackenzie and Dominic. They learned about how toxic it was, but they also learned about the fact that Mackenzie had threatened to crash her car with Dominic inside, and this was just 2 weeks before the apparent accidental car crash. But that's not all. Oh no. The police also found that just 3 days before the car crash, Mackenzie had visited the site of the crash, and she would have no reason to be at the site of the crash. I mean, it was in the middle of an industrial area. It was somewhere where Mackenzie never went. So why was she there? Why was she there if she wasn't scoping out a possible crash site? And that's what the police concluded, because why else would she be there? She was looking for a place to crash her car. So this is obviously just the police's theory. We don't know if this is true, but the police believe that things had just gotten on top of Mackenzie and her relationship with Dominic. And because of this, she had planned a murder-suicide to kill herself and her boyfriend, and then Davion just so happened to be in the back seat of the car. So on the 4th of November 2022, the police go and arrest Mackenzie. She is charged with 17 crimes, 2 of which are aggravated murder.
Could you please be careful taking this one off so it doesn't break the bracelet, please?
You got it. No.
Thank you.
And body cam footage of her arrest can also be seen online. And when Mackenzie is arrested, she is crying and she is being transferred to the police car to be transferred to jail, and she can be seen closing her eyes, trying to relax. And then in August of 2023, 1 year later, Mackenzie finally goes to trial. And
Never share your medications. Learn more.
lasted for 4 days. Mackenzie's defense lawyer actually opted for a bench trial, which basically just means that the judge will decide guilty or not guilty. There will be no jury. And throughout the trial, the prosecution tried to paint out that this was 100% intentional. It was no accident whatsoever, and it was premeditated. The evidence that they presented was the CCTV footage of the car speeding up, of going 100 miles an hour. They also showed how Mackenzie was driving just before the car crash. She was completely in control of the car. And this footage showed that Mackenzie was in control of this car. She had not blacked out. And they argued that she intentionally drove this car into the wall and did not once try and stop the car. She didn't apply the brakes, and we know that the brakes were working correctly. And then to prove that it was premeditated, Mackenzie's GPS location just days before the car crash showed her at the crash site, basically scoping out the site. But then possibly the smoking gun was the fact that she had already threatened to crash the car with Dominic inside just 2 weeks prior. So she has already threatened to do what she actually did. And of course, they have a lot of Mackenzie's previous social media posts on TikTok of her having a history of driving recklessly. But then the defense, obviously, to counter all of this, said that Mackenzie had no recollection of the crash, that she had blacked out. And this is what caused her to lose control of the car, which then resulted in the crash. Mackenzie's mom also took the stand to defend her daughter, and the main defense that Mackenzie's mom used was that Mackenzie has been diagnosed with a condition called POTS, and this causes a person's heart rate to increase abnormally, which can lead to dizziness and a loss of consciousness. And her mom argued that this could have resulted in the tragic car accident.
Like, devastated and tragic. He was the air that she breathes.
But people were not happy with this. Mackenzie's mom received a lot of criticism because she's just trying to excuse her daughter's behaviour and essentially kind of cover this all up. Now, I don't know if she actually has been diagnosed with that condition. I just don't know. But the judge was not accepting this as a defence. And ultimately, the judge agreed with the prosecution. And the judge found Mackenzie Shirilla guilty on all charges, which included the 2 counts of murder.
Death was the ultimate goal that day. Finds defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder to wit Davion Flanston in violation of our revised code section 2903.02A, discharging count 2 of the indictment.
And the judge said that Mackenzie had, quote, been on a mission and that she had carried it out with precision, and that Mackenzie was hell on wheels. So when it came to sentencing, Mackenzie actually did have a chance to speak, and she addressed the victims' families.
Oh God, Davion, I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken.
And the victims' families also had a chance to speak, and they expressed their heartbreak and how much the loss of these 2 incredible, amazing young men would have on them.
My son Davion is and always will be so much more than cargo. He was precious. He was an amazing soul with a heart of gold.
And Davion's sister asked the judge to give Mackenzie the longest sentence possible. Dominic's mom also addressed Mackenzie and said that she should be grateful that she's still alive and she has a future, unlike her son. And in the end, Mackenzie was sentenced to life in prison. However, there is a caveat to this because she will be given the possibility of parole after 15 years. And the victims' families were not happy about this because Mackenzie could be out of prison even though she has been found guilty of double murder at just the age of 33. However, thankfully, the judge permanently revoked her driving license, meaning that she will never be able to drive again. And as you can imagine, this case got a lot of attention on social media. A lot of people were following the case, speculating about why Mackenzie did this. But in the end, I don't think we will ever truly know why Mackenzie did what she did. Following her conviction, her defense team have submitted multiple appeals, none of which have been successful, and she still remains behind bars. Mackenzie's parents still continue to defend her and claim that she is innocent to this very day. Just last year, they did a TV interview and said that the car crash was just an accident, that there was no intent there whatsoever.
Show me one piece of evidence, one, that says she did this on purpose.
And these poor families think she did it intentionally, and she didn't. And there's like...
But how many times did she threaten to crash a car and kill? I mean, like, I can't imagine even joking about something like that. But then she went and did it. That seems real sketch to me. She makes death threats and then it happens at her hand. That doesn't seem accidental to me. Seems premeditated.
And they don't know. There's information they didn't see. There's information they didn't have. There's information we didn't see or have.
And as you can imagine, the reaction to that.
Hand pulled.
Hello, lovelies. That being said, I'm going to call it right there. It's 2:29 here on the clock on the East Coast. Please remember to pray, do no harm, take no crap, and I will catch you, my darlings, on the next one. I'm going to be sending some Reiki on the outro, so remember to get some rest, hydrate, and take good care of yourselves. One love and namaste. I love you.